Hello, welcome to another presentation. My name is Peter and this is Rob.
Hello.
Today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to give you a tutorial on how to create engaging and effective lesson plans, or as we like to call them, activities. So, the structure of today's tutorial, we're going to have a live session where Rob is going to create the activity and you get to watch. I'll be commenting on everything he does. I'll be explaining why he's putting things in certain places. And then afterwards, we're going to have a Q&A as usual. So, like before, write your questions in either YouTube or Teams. If you're going to write your questions in YouTube, you have to subscribe to Oxinity first. Write the questions throughout the presentation. Any questions you've ever wondered about how to create good activities, good lessons, anything related to that, please ask them. Towards the end, when we start to wrap up, we will close the questions, so make sure you do it in good time, and then Rob and I will ask them. Okay, so we'll make a start. Rob, would you open up the activity, please? You're going to open up a blank activity. So if you don't mind doing that. Now, this activity is going to be focused on structure. What structure are we going to focus on today? We're going to have a look at the present perfect. So in future tutorials, maybe we'll have a look at some vocabulary activities or maybe some activities on fluency or pronunciation, but today is going to be all about structure. So what's the first thing you need to think of? Okay, the first thing you need to think of before you start creating an activity is what's the objective? And how do you know what the objective is? Well, think about the following things. Think about who is the students, what's the purpose they're learning English, and also what kind of skills do they want to learn. So the student is someone who is, let's say for example, an adult. They are someone who wants to learn general English, and they want to learn fluency. So they want to be someone who can communicate in a very fluent way. If they want that, you have to provide them with an activity that allows them to use the English language in a conversational way and also in a way that's functional. So this activity is going to be very functional based rather than very form based. Okay, so let's have a look at the activity. Let's have a look at the first thing we're going to add. And the first thing we're going to add is the objective. So the objective here, Rob is just going to type the objective here, but while he's typing that, one thing that I mentioned before was that you have to think about the function. So what is the function of the present perfect? Okay, the present perfect has a couple of different functions. Our advice is stick to one, okay? So stick to one function, which we're going to look at today, experiences. So therefore, the objective today is going to be what the students should be able to learn.
I'll talk about experiences.
Let's just read what you've written.
Present perfect, using ever for interrogative and never for negative.
Exactly right. So we're focusing on the function of experience. All right, good. Okay, what's next? The next important thing you need to think of is the target language. Okay, so we've got the objective out of the way. What's the target language? Rob's going to have a look at the target language. It's at the bottom of this activity, actually. So we're not necessarily doing this activity in the order from top to bottom. As you can see, Rob is adding the present perfect into a search engine. He's opening up some information. And what you can see here, Rob is adding the definition of the present perfect, example, an image, which is a kind of a timeline, and also an audio. The audio is good if the student is not in class and they want to hear the pronunciation of what the present perfect is. Other target language you might want to add is, for example, ever or never. So ever and never is used quite a lot when it comes to the present perfect. Ever is used when you are asking questions, and never is used when you're referring to the present perfect in the negative. So Rob's just going to add some more here. Now, we're going to just give you some examples in this tutorial, okay? So in reality, you would be adding much more target language. Target language should be, on average, what would you say, Rob?
6 to 8 target language.
6 to 8, okay. 6 to 8 target languages. That is just enough for them to be able to take away and learn a sufficient amount of English, but also not too much that they don't get overloaded with too much information, okay? So 6 to 8, that's kind of... Research states that's an adequate amount of target language for a particular activity. Okay, we've done the target language, we've done the objective. What's next? Okay, next is the main bulk of the activity. In previous presentations, we talked about when you're making activities, use the PPP model. PPP, what does that stand for? Can you remind me?
Presentation.
Presentation, practice, and produce, or production, okay? So, yeah, okay, so the 3 Ps, it's easy to forget them, but an easy way for you to remember them is what I do. So the presentation is what the teacher does. What I do, we do, so we do together, that's practice, and you do, so that's what the student does. So if you want to remember that way, then that might help you. Anyway, okay, back to the 3 Ps. What are they? First P, that's the introduction, okay? Introduction to the present perfect. What do we do for an introduction? Well, okay, I got 2 ideas. So one is that the teacher models some sentences. So Rob is just going to add some questions now. And what he's going to add is he's adding a couple of questions which aren't using the present perfect, but this is a segue, so it's moving into the present perfect next. So he's adding, I live in Barcelona, I love traveling, and next, I have been to London, okay? So what we're doing here is we're using the present perfect to refer to experiences, and we've led from, somewhere where you live, something you enjoy, and to, okay, what do I like doing? I like going to play, I like going to traveling, I like going traveling, I like going to London, I have been to London, okay? So this is a segue into that. So segues are really important when it comes to creating activities. You want all of your activity to flow well together, and also you want your different activities to flow well with each other as well, okay? Class that flows well, something that's seamless, it makes it more conversational, and it means the students sort of can relax and accept the information a lot easier. Cool. Okay, introduction then, we've got some examples of present perfect, and the teacher will model this in the first instance. Okay, now one other thing is I'd like to add something else. I'd like to add a YouTube video, of a song which contains the present perfect. So, well, we've already got this prepared for you. It is a YouTube video on the song Have You Ever Seen the Rain? So I hope this is a popular song for people outside of English-speaking world. I assume it is. If not, that's fine. I mean, it's as long as they hear it, and it's not just to introduce the topic, but it's also to give a kind of more of an audio-visual feel to the class.
Adds a different dynamic, right?
It does, yeah. It adds a different dynamic. It makes it a bit more fun and engaging, and also they may learn something while doing so. Okay, cool. Now, what Rob has done is he is adding the YouTube video to an attachment. The attachment is what you will show the student, so that's what the student sees. Everything else you see here is the teacher's notes. Okay, the student does not need to see the teacher's notes. Student doesn't need to see what instructions or even the form of the structure. That can be just for the student. The attachments, that's for what the student sees. So remember that you've got two sides or two interfaces. You've got what the teacher sees, what the student sees, and we'll come back to this a little bit in time. Okay, so what have we done so far? We've done the objective, we looked at the target language, we've had a look at the first P, or the introduction. What's the next? Second P, practice. In this section, the teacher is going to provide a practice part of the class. And in this part, they will practice together the present perfect. Simple as that, okay? So this is a chance for the student and the teacher to work together and create sentences. Yeah. Okay, Rob, what are you going to do for this part?
So we're going to add some pictures.
Okay, good.
Something a bit more visual than just having text. So I think pictures is a good idea. So I'm going to crack on and do.
All right, you add some pictures now. While he's doing that, we've got a question. So I'm just going to ask this. I'm just going to answer this while Rob is doing the boring bit, which is adding all the pictures and formatting. So, but watch Rob format and add them. But listen to me. So, okay, we have a question. Why should we add 6 to 8 target words when shall we go through those words in a lesson? Okay, I would say that we should add 6 to 8 target words. I mentioned this slightly before, but I'll reiterate it. So what you want to do is you want a balance of how many target language you're going to use. So if you have too little, then the student doesn't go away learning a sufficient amount. And if you have too many, they're bombarded with information and they go away feeling really confused. The next part of the question is, so when shall we go through those words in a lesson? Throughout the lesson. Now, but in a structure, the most important target language is the structure itself, so the present perfect. And that you're going to be going through the whole way through the lesson. Now, it might be that there's a word that you come across. I mean, I can't think of an example right now, but, you know, let's say, okay, you were talking about visiting Barcelona. You know, we're talking about having eaten something. So I have tried, or I have eaten paella, I have eaten... I've gone to France, I've eaten snails, okay? Snail might be a word that you might include in your target language. You know, we teach a lot of Spanish people.
Yeah.
I don't know the word for snail in Spanish, but I've got a feeling it doesn't sound like snail. So, I don't think it's a cognate. I think that it probably is something you can include in target language. So that's one of the things to remember about target language. Don't include cognates in target language because they're, by essence, they are the same word, or else they're almost the same word. Rob, how's it going with your pictures?
Just getting there. Just adding the last few, and then we'll be ready.
As you can see, he's got images of London, of Barcelona, and you can also see him now. He's formatting the pictures. Formatting is really important because it makes everything pleasing to the eye. I mentioned before that when you are producing an activity, make sure it flows well, but also make sure that the pictures look good and that they really truly represent what you're referring to. So for example, let's say you had a word next to a picture and then you had a picture underneath that word separately. The student might get confused. So make sure that everything is aligned. It's really clear for the student because remember, they don't speak English perfectly. So they have to accept what they see as being something that is clear. Okay. So Rob is just finishing that, and while he does, I'm going to read the next question from Graham. Okay, Graham asks, with target language, should we ever present cognates? I answered that as well, actually. So no, I wouldn't. That's not target language. So remember that the whole point of target language is that it is something new for the student, something that they can take away. Target language should also be very much aligned to the level of the student. So don't give them something that's super, super complicated if they're low level. And then conversely, you know, don't give them a simple word if they are high level. So yeah, don't use cognates. Cognates are good for instructions. So for example, if you use the word repeat, or if you used to say the word, you know, look at the images or photos, or images and photos are kind of good words. So for maybe not pictures. I don't know. Would you say pictures a good word to use if you're given instructions?
Image
is better because it's well. It's good if you're teaching Spanish people. We teach a lot of Spanish people here. Maybe in another language, if you're working in a different country, you know, you might want to select your words carefully there as well. Some languages, perhaps, you know, if you're teaching English in China, there are probably not so many cognates. So maybe you have to rely very much on purely just images and less instructions. Okay, now...
so I've finished the images here, good, yeah. So I need to add the teacher's notes.
Okay.
In the teacher's section.
Teacher's notes, so this is really important, okay? So remember I said earlier about how you got two sides to an online activity. You've got one part that's for the teacher and you've got one part that's for the student, okay? The student obviously doesn't need to see the teacher's notes. The teacher's notes should be instructions for you and also for any other teachers that are going to be using the activity. So,
I'll write some instructions.
Rob's going to write some instructions, and while he's doing that, I'm going to read the next question. How much time should we spend in each section? Okay, depends how many sections there are, and I would say that a whole activity, so let's say this present perfect activity, I would say you should get through it in what, 10 or 15 minutes? Yeah. Otherwise, the student might get bored, and you want to move on to something else because you want to teach them a lot of stuff, you know. So you got target language within an activity, but you've also got different activities. And my suggestion is that when you're teaching different activities, is mix up the different skills. So those skills are grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and fluency. So something like a topic activity. So So back to the question: how much time should we spend in each section? Well, I mean, I guess if okay, let's say the activity is 15 minutes long, then I would spend. I mean, it
depends on if you're gonna, you know, have a long text is not so productive
Yeah.
because it's going to take a long time to go through. So I think lots of mini kind of maybe 5-minute sections to an activity could be quite good. Remembering the wrap up at the end of the activity as well, to have a little revision of what you've studied in the class.
I think this might help you. So think of it as a pyramid, okay? And the top of the pyramid is a small p, and the middle of the pyramid is a medium-sized p, and the bottom is a large p. And the order it goes is PPP, which is the present, practice, and produce. Try and get the bulk of it in the produce part, because that's the most important. That's what they really need to learn in the end. So have that image, and then that should hopefully guide you as to how long you should spend each section. So, you know, you could spend it equally. I mean, that's okay too. Yeah. But maybe if you really want to hone in on the skill of presentation, then do it that way. What's next? So, okay, Rob is updating the just finishing updating the practice part. So as you can see here, the next part we're going to move on to is the third P. Okay, so this is the production part. So what shall we do for the production part?
I think a game.
Yeah, a game.
Good.
Okay.
We can have a little game.
I have an idea of a game that uses the present perfect, which is called Never Have I Ever. Some of you may have played it. It's a popular game. We teach, as I said before, we teach in Spain, so it's a popular game in Spain. Actually, they call it Nunca Nunca. Is it? Yeah. So they use it. They use it here as well. So okay, so this game allows each person who's playing to use the present perfect in a conversation. What happens during the game is basically you go around the room, one person says something that they've never done, and everyone else either gets points or doesn't get points for something they've done or haven't done. Anyway, for now the instructions of the game isn't important. However, what we would do is we would put those instructions in the teacher's notes.
Yep.
And then what would we put in the student's notes for this?
Maybe you wouldn't actually need anything. Maybe an example just to get them started. Maybe some pictures or maybe some bit of inspiration like skydiving or
that sounds a good idea. Yeah. So an image of skydiving, for example, and then that way, if no one can think of an example, they can look at the image and get inspired. So I guess that's the whole point of the game, is that you say things that you've never done that is maybe quite rare, and you're hoping that everyone else hasn't done it.
Yeah,
I think that's the rule anyway from the last time I played it. So okay, so while Rob is doing that, what's the next question? Can I use a diagram of the form of the structure, for example, subject plus have, etc., etc.? Well. I wouldn't
from the start. Personally. I think I prefer to give lots of examples and try and get them to notice the structure themselves. I think they're more likely to remember the structure themselves if they do that, rather than we just give them a sheet with and get them to go away and copy them.
Sure. I think it's useful for you to have it as a teacher, so keep it in the teacher's notes. But for the student to see, remember that we're teaching communicatively. That's a bit of a mouthful, but we're teaching in a communicative type of way, and the best way to do that is to teach the function. So the function of present perfect is, today we're looking at experiences. If you focus more on that and get them to speak, you probably don't need to worry about the form. But maybe, let's say for example, you've tried the functional way and a student is still not quite getting it, maybe then you could write it down and say, look, here's the formula, because actually some people might accept information a lot easier that way, but I wouldn't start with it, certainly not. And maybe if you had something a bit more complicated, like the third conditional, okay, maybe then it kind of, because it gets longer, but keep it simple. Don't use terminology that is quite linguistic. Use words that are really simple.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, start with the function, start from there, and hopefully they learn that way. What's next? So okay, for argument's sake, we're just going to close down the attachments. What else needs to be done? So we've done the objective, we've done target language, we've looked at the 3 Ps. We had a part where we present, we've had a part where we practice, and a part that we produce. It's quite difficult. Of course, they have to be all 3 Ps. What else do we have to do?
A little wrap up, like I mentioned before.
Yeah, I think a wrap up.
What's the point of a wrap up? It's just basically to get them practicing one little last time, just to reinforce the fact that they've all understood and they've all got the hang of what we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So what kind of things can you include in the wrap up?
So we can get them to ask each other questions. Maybe go around the room. Each student has to ask each other a question, practicing in this case the present perfect.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll add that in.
And Wrap-up is also good because it's a conclusion for your activity, and you can also use it to segue into your next activity. So yeah, wrap-ups are really, really important. And okay, while Rob is typing that, next question. I would like to know some tips on linking the activities when teaching, as sometimes they have nothing in common whatsoever. I have a tip. Do you have one?
You can go first.
Use a linguistic segue. So, for example, if one piece of activity is about phrasal verbs and the other is about the present perfect, then ask a question with the present perfect, including a phrasal verb.
Yeah. I think that's the best way, a smooth way. Sometimes they actually link very easily to activities. Yeah. Sometimes, you have to spend a little bit more time preparing before the class. How am I going to link these two activities smoothly? And the transition, I think, is one of the most important things, something that needs to be remembered. Yeah. It just helps the whole flow of the class, you know, it's not, it doesn't feel so stop-start, and the students, I think, enjoy it a lot more.
I would say that a good segues make the difference between a good activity or a good class and a really good class. Yeah. So they're really important. What else needs to be done to our activity?
So we can just add some titles to the attachments now here, just so it's clear for the teachers. So the first one was pictures, so we can add pictures.
So Rob's going to change the names of the attachments from attachment to whatever the name's going to be.
And in the second one, we'll do game.
Good. And in the meantime, I'm going to answer another question. In the students part of each attachment, should we only use images or as close to that as we can? Of course, we should not only use one particular medium, but I would say as many pictures as possible. Yeah. Because they avoid miscommunication, I'd say, because words can do that, particularly if you're trying to teach these words to people. Yeah. They're really good for low levels. And also, one other thing is texts are okay, and I think they're fine. Yeah. However, if you're focusing on the skill of speaking and listening, then text can sometimes, you can get bogged down on reading and pronunciation.
Yeah, you don't want to spend too much time on a text. The text has to be really short, straight to the point. If the students are interested, they can go away in their own time and then read the full article. You know, you can always provide that for them. But I guess really long text, more than 100 words even, tend to slow the whole pace of the class down. So I think lots of images, videos, like we mentioned at the start.
You can have a mix as well. You can have like an infographic which contains just very minimal data plus images as well.
Yeah, quotes. Yeah. Stuff like headlines, even just a headline, right? Yeah. You don't need the whole article, just a headline can spark a conversation and get people
talking. Some people use Realia, some people bring in an actual real item into the classroom.
As long as you're always linking it.
As long as it's not too big and you don't have to carry it around everywhere.
As long as you're always linking it to what the purpose of the activity or the lesson is. So as long as you're practicing the present perfect, then that's fine.
So be careful with Realia because it's not always appropriate. Okay. What else needs to be done to our activity?
I think we just need to add a title, right?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so final thing. Why did we leave the title to the end? Well, normally when if you leave the title to the end, it means that you can kind of get all of the main bulk of the activity done, and at the end you can think, okay, what is one line that summarizes everything that I've done? So as you can see, we've done everything, not backwards, but we haven't done anything in order from the way that the students or the teacher sees it once completed. We started off with the, what did we start off with? The objective, yes, of course.
And then we went to the target language.
And then the target language. And then we had a look at the 3 Ps. So we had an introduction, and we had a practice, and we had another development area which is focused on production. And then we looked at the wrap-up, and then we put the title at the end. So I think it's looking good, right? Yeah. Okay. This is an activity. So this is one that's finished. It didn't take us very long, as you can see. It didn't take us long at all. Okay. No. And so hopefully this has given you an idea of how to create engaging activities. We've got more questions though, so let's keep looking at those. Rob, what's the next question?
What if a teacher does not use online activities? Can the method still be used?
Yes, I think it can. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we showed you certain things that were very specific to creating online activities, such as adding images and formatting. Okay, so that doesn't happen in the real world, but you can present images in other ways. Yep. I mean, I think that if you stick to the theory of how a lesson should run, so first of all, you think of what is your objective. That helps you create what your lesson is going to be. What's the target language? Okay, that also helps you understand how the lesson is going to be as well. And then within the activity, you've got the 3 parts, and of course the wrap up.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else?
Everything? Yeah.
Next.
Do we use hashtags for when creating activities, and what are they for?
Yeah, okay, so well, that was well spotted. Okay, so in the activity, if we go back to the activity, you can have a look at the very top, just after the title, we've got hashtags. Okay, this is obviously this is something that is used if you're using online activities, and if you have a system of collating activities. Basically, this is a way of for us to combine activities in a neat kind of way. So if you want an activity on business, or if you want activity on grammar, or if you want activity on what else, phrasal verbs, it's easy to find.
Anything, you know? Even if you whatever you're the present perfect.
Sure. Okay, so that's what that's for. It works quite well if you have a database of activities like we do.
Perfect.
What's next? Do we have any more questions? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. How many activities should we prepare in the event that students may not be willing to speak about a specific topic, or might not find interest engaging in that activity? To keep the class still going. Thank you. Okay. How many activities should we prepare? Okay.
Preparation-wise, I mean, you always have to over-prepare for a class, right? You need to make sure you've got more than enough material and not enough material. So I think for an hour class, I would say about 6 activities prepared. Maybe you won't cover all 6 in the class, but you've got the backup.
We would do 4, right? Yeah. What do you say? 4? Yeah. So we expect to do 4, but prepare 6. So yeah, that helps because someone, as you say, someone might already know the language, okay? But just because you think that they know it doesn't mean that they necessarily do. So make sure that you check their understanding of the topic, get them to use it in sentences, get them to use it in various different sophisticated ways, and that's when you realize that actually maybe they do need a bit more work. What you should never do is never ask them if they know something.
No.
Because if they say yes, well,
you need to double check.
You need to double check.
Because often you'll find that they say yes, but they haven't.
Yes.
Or they think they've understood, but they've understood something completely different. Okay. So you always need to use concept check questions to double check that they've understood. Exactly.
So I hope that answered the question. So, and it looks like we don't have any more questions. So let's wrap up. The purpose of today was to give you a tutorial on how to create an activity, okay? And we focused on the present perfect, a grammar activity. Some other day, maybe we'll do some vocabulary, we'll show you how to do that one, but today was very much focused on present perfect. So remember, always stick to what's your objective, okay? The objective should, in theory, if it's a communicative style of teaching, it should be to try and get them to use it in a very conversational way. And so the flow of the activity should go from you showing the activity, you practicing together, and then to them producing it. Yeah. And of course, you error correcting and things like that. And then you wrap up at the end. So if you have that in mind, all of your activities will flow really well. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think so. Well, thank you very much again. And we hope to see you at the next tutorial or the next presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Ya está.
Was it? Was it? Why?
Bueno, podemos hablar porque en teoría
couldn't do the table, so I quickly switched onto the teacher's one. Left it. That's why I left it in the table when I showed it.
Porque si te fijas siempre en el otro sitio sale en verde el punto de
YouTube
que sale en amarillo.
One long word.
Pero bueno, ahora podéis
and separate every single word. For that, that's why at the end I started typing. That's why I asked you when I screened your session. Because when I did it there, I had to separate that. When for that was fine, but then the rest of it was all together. So I was like, fuck. Then.
Pero está muy bien.
Que se está transmitiendo.
Esto es lo
que decía.
Exacto, esto es lo que hace.
No,
Hello! Wow, that was great, wasn't it? Yeah. Yes.
We got there in the end.
Of course it is.
I had keys breaking on me.
Oh yeah, I know my E doesn't work.
There were more questions though.
Were there?
Yes.
We don't have more questions.
We don't have more questions.
Yes, we did have more questions.
Una más, pero ellos se saltan.
No. There were more questions.
Muchas más.
Yes, at least 2 or 3
on YouTube.
on YouTube.
Pero porque
Teams.
ellos se han saltado 2 o 3.
Yeah, okay, because he answered them while in his presentation. But there were 2 which were super important. Well, doesn't matter. But I thought, look, guys, Gracia was filtering for you all the questions on YouTube.
Okay.
So all you had to do was take them from there.
It's okay because we're saying many questions on Teams still. And then, so did the video record? Did the video record all the Teams things popping up?
Yeah.
At the end of the
No, no.
No se veía.
They didn't record those, no? You didn't see them?
No.
Okay.
No se veía.
So
No, it was just the activity, which great.
Genial,
Welcome.
genial.
No, it was a disaster. I don't know how to use Max, so...
Que sí, hombre. Wasn't it good?
Yeah, it was.
It was good. We couldn't hear
We're
it, but
we're exhausted
in the beginning,
Yeah, I guess you are.
now. Well, it's fine.
it's a good way to explain things like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
is that video on YouTube? Can we
Now
watch it
it
again?
is. Yes,
Yes,
it's
yes,
on now. It's
yes.
immediately.
Because
Yeah.
I can watch it at home
Yeah.
and then I can
Yeah.
practice with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, this week you should do one activity for grammar. I'll assign it now, a little bit late, but still. And next week it's all right. You can do it next week, and next week 2 more. So just follow this lead.
Now it's foolproof.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
A lot of work.
We're very tired now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we last night as well. We were here all night. Well, not all night.
Your question was there.
It was one of the. I think I asked you because yesterday we engaged in this problem, like talking about Brexit, because some of didn't want to actually talk about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, what was the question? I didn't quite answer that because there was 2 parts to the question. You didn't answer what if someone isn't engaged.
This one, yeah.
Did we not answer that properly?
I probably didn't even put the right punctuation, but
No, it's fine. Just when you have when you have a question with 2 parts,
oh yes,
you only remember 1 part.
yeah,
right?
sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But we answered part of it anyway. Yeah. Anyway.
And then we can see the questions too or not?
No. You shouldn't be able to see the
Only
questions.
the video.
Yeah. There are questions on YouTube, and so you can see those as you're watching YouTube. But they're not. The questions aren't recorded.
No. Okay, that's fine.
PP, we get them.
I know.
Every 2 minutes with PP.
I know. I still can't get the P's in the right order. Never mind. Yeah, it's okay. Now I'm not so worried about making little minor mistakes.
No.
Because it makes it more natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't worry so much about that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Good. Well, glad you enjoyed it. So I need to change your schedule today. I still need to do it. Yeah.
And
But
I
will.
said I will maybe I send you my schedule for next week. What will be the most convenient for me, so you can plan it, and I can plan my.
Yeah.
Que no le aparecía, no se veía. No se veía.
The exam on Monday.
You want to do it on Monday?
Alright.
Just
I'm gonna talk
on
to you
Monday.
guys
You tell him when you want to do the exam.
And we do it all together at one time,
we
or
do
we
it-
do it at home.
do it
Everybody in the
Anytime. So it will be available all day for 1 day.
Let's do
Ah,
it on Tuesday so we have questions on Monday.
Yeah, no, we're going to cover
Yeah,
a little bit more on Monday. So we haven't covered everything yet. So we'll cover stuff on Monday. We'll talk about the exam. I'll explain the exam. We'll have a little revision on Monday, and then we can talk about when you guys want to do it.
Yeah.
Any time that week.
Anytime.
I thought it was Monday.
Next week's material. Don't forget to read next week's material, but it's not as hard. Next week's material is a little bit more common sense.
Well, could you email it to me as well?
Yes.
Can you email it to all of us?
Okay, I will.
It's very just better to
Yeah,
have
no,
the PDF
I will.
instead of
I'll
searching
do
it.
it now
Just
so
reply to all
I don't
the
forget.
email.
Okay.
I'll do it now so I don't forget.
Any comment?
Oh, and could I get a
For them?
new because I missed my class yesterday.
Right, okay. You know what? Any requests you have for me, email, because then I'll do it, because I won't remember. So just email anything you want, just email it to me, and I will deal with it today. So I'm not going to do anything now.
Yes.
Whatever you need to email.
But what about
it's easier that way because otherwise someone will come over to me and say, Peter, we need this, and then I'll forget.
But you will remember that you're sending us all the PDFs, right?
Yeah. No, we need to send them.
We need to send them.
Soon, no. No.
Guys, start using Teams for communicating.
Oh yes, well we need to talk about Teams. You all have.
I wasn't sure if they've been set up with their accounts.
Yes.
They have.
Everybody's set up.
Everyone has their account.
So you need to go to your email and look for an email from Microsoft Teams, and it might be in your spam. Yes, or no, it's from Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
Right? And it might be in your junk, so have a look there, and it will give you sorry?
They know they're...
No, I have it. We have it already.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can use that from now on to communicate with the teacher.
We can log on to Teams.
Oh, good.
Everybody.
That's a good way to communicate with me and with
with anyone.
So if you need me to do something, you just message there. And from the hours of 10 till 6.
You're checking that?
From 10 till 6, I'm always
Will Rob remember to change attachment into...
So it's like an email for me.
Yeah, it's
my work list.
We'll talk after.
Okay.
It's more instant as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, all's well when it ends well.
Yeah.
I had to laugh in the process today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
It's all good. All good. It's fine.
Okay. Well, that's it.
That's it. Next week somebody else is doing it. I'm not here next week. I'll be next Friday. I'm in Madrid. So.
Volunteers?
You're going to escape.
Yeah.